Today I've come up with a very interesting topic which most of you could relate. It's about parenting. Again, it's not about the basic ground rules of parenting, but is it really very important to be a good parent all the time? The key word is all the time. So you would have heard about these terms like good cop, or bad policing, good policing. So when it comes to parenting, generally one of the parent takes this role of a good cop and another person a bad cop. And the child always hates the bad cop. Sometimes the role is played by the father. So father always disciplines the child and the mother is very warm, or sometimes the other way around also. Mom is always the yelling parent and the father is very, very kind and cheesy with the children. So, but one person taking this role for a very long time, what happens? The child's interaction with other parents gets more bitter. And also the question about which parent is going to play the bad cop. And are they doing this as a conscious decision or it comes naturally from the personalities? Again, one more question which we need to ponder on, because when it comes to parenting, I always tell there is two things which you should always remember in mind. One is warmth, the other one is discipline. There are many parents, since now they have only one child, the warmth is given in overdose. But when it comes to discipline, sometimes that suffers. But there are even still now parents are there who are very good at disciplining to a large extent, I should say. But when it comes to warmth, it's not much there. But the art is being high in both of it, not even balance, high in both of it, high in discipline as well as warmth. But whenever it comes to Indian parenting, especially when a mom tries to discipline, especially when the grandparents are around, the mom becomes a villain of the family, because when she says no chocolate, then the grandparent says, I don't know, what if she eats one chocolate, what is going to happen? And the daughter-in-law of the family or the mom gets into the trouble of how do I discipline my child? And many parents, many moms ask me this question whenever I talk to them, either in counseling sessions or parenting workshops, like it's not even in my hand, how do I discipline my child without getting the bad name? And some of the parents want to be on the safer zone, don't ever want to get any kind of bad name from the children. This is again a very, very bad trend, because you need to be sometimes bad to the child, so-called bad to the child, but actually your child is going to thank you later for that, because discipline plays a very important role in parenting. It is very, very important that you be sometimes distant from the child also, not only in terms of discipline and saying, sometimes not very close to the child is also going to be very helpful to the child. Let's say the child is learning to do some activity or all by herself or himself. In such cases, the so-called warm parent would love to encourage the child and be with the child and always be, helicopter parenting the child and tell this is the right thing to do, this is not the right thing to do, and always guiding the child. But do you think this is a good parenting? Actually not. In such cases, a parent has to maintain the distance and allow and delegate the child with some task and allow the child to learn the activity by herself or himself. It's very important, because in such cases you feel that the child is actually suffering and finding it difficult to problem solve. So the parent, either maybe the mom or the dad, may be feeling that I wish I was there to help my child. Their heart is pounding and really want to help the child. Let's say your child is also, when they are teens, trying to learn a bicycle or a two-wheeler, or even learn a small some task. Either the mom or dad who wants to be this good person all the time and not very good at disciplining and always very, very emotionally attached to the person, what they do, this mistake they do very often, quite often, not allowing the child to learn all by themselves, will make them a complete dependent person on you. You will never make them independent. Sometimes the child will have to undergo some kind of suffering in the name of problem solving to learn certain stuff. Sometimes the child will forget the homework and the mom will run behind the bus and give the homework. But when is the child going to learn that I have to be responsible enough to pack all my homeworks and take it to the school? So by being a so-called goody parent, you're forgetting to teach the children the important basics of the responsibility, independence and stuff like that. So from now on, don't try to be a so-called good parent in terms of getting all the good names from the society and from the child and always being emotionally tied up with your child. Being overly emotionally invested in a child is not a good sign. It is actually a bad sign for your child, and the child is going to have a lot of complications in terms of emotionality in future because of your passivity or your pleasing tendency or your personality as well. So it can either be mom or dad who may be making this mistake. When you listen to this video, please understand Good parenting is not about always being attached to the child and always giving and yielding to, always letting yourself be ready for attending to all the basic needs of the child. Sometimes the child has to wait. Sometimes the child has to learn all by itself. So you need to space out and give the child the time. And sometimes you need to be really, if not rude, very assertive and firm to the child. And the child may get really, sad or upset because of your comments. But it's still fine. You're doing a good job. And even if your mother-in-law, father-in-law, or anybody is going to shout at you for being such a parent who's really not firm, who's really not kind and very, very concerned or positive, it's still fine. Please understand and be reassured, at least through this video or various other information, you are doing a good job. Don't ever doubt yourself, because with an intention of really upbringing the child, if you're going to show such kind of firmness, it's good. But at the same time, if you're going to shout at the child just because you want to vent out your emotions, or just because you're angry with your partner, so you're venting out and you're shouting at a child, doesn't mean you're doing a good parenting here. And also, I would finally suggest that if one person is going to be always a good cop and another person a bad cop, it's going to be a problem. So for certain activities, you can switch the role. So the child knows that there is a goodness in both the parents and they are doing it for my good. Communicate with your child. A child can understand even right from the womb. So what's the problem in telling the child and reason it out that I'm doing this for your goodness? You may develop a cavity. That's why I'm not giving you chocolate. Even your grandma gives. You can just tell her, thank you grandma, but I don't want it. Child cannot always follow your instructions, but keep reasoning it out. Keep communicating with your child, especially for those in a joint family setup. And you never ever hesitate to discipline your child, never ever hesitate to be distant from the child in terms of giving the child the much needed independence, because you are not always going to be by your child's side. Even now I hear people who, even after getting their child married, they're calling their children baby, papa, all this stuff. So that means they're completely dependent on their partner and on the parent, and they are like having a codependent relationship, which is very toxic. So please understand that you're not doing any harm to the child by not showing all your emotions, because nowadays the women are given the label, you're not a good mom if you're not giving the child what the child yearns for, or when the child starts crying, you're given a bad name like you're a bad mom. Please don't ever carried over by such comments. Always remember what you're doing with good intentions in order to bring up the child a more responsible, independent and happy and healthy child. If your intentions are pure, please keep doing the good job, and you're never going to be a toxic parent. And don't ever try to be a super parent or something. You just do your job with these basic intentions and good intentions in mind. Your child, of course, will understand. If not now, during the teen, it's going to be tough, definitely. But later, the child will come back and thank you for being such a firm mom or a firm dad. And also, the child will start understanding your hardships also later. And if not, also, you did your job. Great with that. Go with that. Kudos for that. So please understand this concept of good cop and bad cop in parenting, and never strive to be a good parent, but to be a more effective parenting. All the very best for such good parenting to happen, to bring up all citizens who are really capable of being independent as well as responsible, as well as who are going to be the pillars for bringing the gender equality into this world as well. So I'll catch up with another interesting and useful video. Until then, have a great day. Bye.